What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's just jump right into the topic of this video. With the Raiders going out and trading for a veteran quarterback like Geno Smith, a lot of people, including myself, kind of saw this as a possibility that more than likely we're not going to be in on a quarterback, primarily early in the draft. But today I wanted to talk about whether or not that is a legit possibility, or whether or not the Raiders' future plan could still involve drafting a quarterback in the first round or even in the second round this year in the NFL draft. Now, the Raiders went ahead and traded a third-round pick for Geno Smith, and recently Geno Smith was spotted with Shedeur Sanders. It looks like they're out there in Florida. Honestly, I have no idea why they linked up, but the two met together, and it definitely sent waves through NFL media, and that has just got a lot of people talking and speculating. Is a guy like Shadour Sanders still on the table for the Las Vegas Raiders? Now, one thing to take into consideration is I do kind of feel like Shadour Sanders' draft stock is starting to fall a little bit. I mean, before it was seen that he was a lock to be a top 3 draft pick. Most people had him mocked going to the New York Giants. And although that still could happen, I definitely see a scenario where Shedeur Sanders falls to us at number 6. And not gonna lie, something that's kind of funny about this whole situation is when it comes to Shedeur Sanders and some NFL comps, I've seen some people comp him to Geno Smith. I can kind of see where they're coming from. But could the Raiders still be in on drafting a quarterback early, having him sit behind a veteran quarterback like Geno Smith, who could hold down the fort as a starting quarterback for the next couple seasons and hopefully help them with the development of the young quarterback, and then eventually they take the reins and hopefully they can take over the franchise? Is that still a possibility? Well, one thing I will say is with this whole Geno Smith situation is I'm still waiting to see what that contract extension looks like for Geno Smith and the Raiders. Honestly, I'm pretty surprised that they still haven't got anything done. Yesterday was a deadline. If the Raiders wanted to lower Geno Smith's cap hit on 2025, they failed to come to negotiations. So it looks like for 2025, Geno Smith will have a $31 million cap hit. Yesterday, he secured his $16 million roster bonus. And to me, this is the biggest thing, and it will give us more insight on what the possible plans for the Raiders could be at the quarterback position when it comes to the NFL draft. Because one thing I will say is Geno Smith, let's say he signs like a 4-year extension for a lot of money, a lot of guaranteed money. Well, in that scenario, that shows me that they are going to ride with him for the foreseeable future for the next 2 to 3 seasons. So in a scenario like that, I definitely don't see us drafting a Shedeur Sanders or even like a Jackson Dart anytime early in the draft. Very likely they may draft the quarterback later this year, or they could totally opt to skip the position this season when it comes to the draft, and maybe next year in 2026, when it's supposed to be a stronger quarterback draft class, maybe that's when they make their marks. So that's really one thing that's key right here, is we have to wait and see what that Geno Smith contract ultimately looks like. Is it a 2-3 year extension? How long exactly will he be here under contract? The guaranteed money? All those details really need to be fine-tuned before we get a more clear indication on what they could do. And honestly, I am curious to see what that contract is going to look like. Not only from, how many years it's going to be type of perspective, but also how much money per year is Geno Smith going to command. There's a lot of reports that show that the Seattle Seahawks offered him a 2-year extension that was about $40 million per season, and that he declined that offer. So that's something to take into consideration. Is Geno Smith gonna want the bank? Is he gonna want $45 million? I mean, shit, does he even want up to $50 million per season? It's hard to know. I mean, a couple of different ways you can look about that. It could be maybe Geno Smith does want as much money as he can get as he is getting older in his career, and this is very likely going to be his last big contract in the NFL. Also, too, I don't know how that whole situation was with Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe it was just a situation where he's like, you know what? I want to get out of here. I'd rather go with Pete Carroll. Maybe it's that type of situation. I really don't know. But it is a little interesting to see that the contract negotiation, when it comes to the extension of Geno Smith, to me has taken longer than I initially expected. You know, I definitely want to get your guys' feedback on that. What do you think the holdup is? But to me, that's going to be the biggest thing, because if the Raiders are going to draft a guy like Shedeur Sanders, I definitely do not see him sitting on the bench for more than one season. So like I said, if we sign Geno Smith to like a 3-4 year extension where a vast majority of that money is guaranteed, well, you know, I definitely don't see us drafting a guy like Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart. At that point, if we draft a quarterback, it'll likely be like a later round quarterback, or maybe it'll be like a more developmental type of quarterback, like Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. But even then, I feel like he's going to go pretty early in the draft. I would not be shocked if he ended up going in the late first round, but the latest I see him going is second round. So even then, it could be far-fetched. But if Geno only gets signed to like a 2-year extension or something like that, then I could definitely see the possibility of the Raiders maybe drafting Shedeur Sanders, letting him sit for a little bit, get mentored under a veteran, get mentored under Tom Brady as well. That definitely is a possibility, but I think it all boils down to what is that contract going to look like for Geno Smith, and that'll ultimately tell us what this franchise thinks of Geno Smith and the future of the quarterback position for the Las Vegas Raiders. But yeah, a guy like Shedeur Sanders, there's no way he's going to be on the bench for multiple different seasons. If anything, Shedeur Sanders strikes me as a guy that he probably thinks he's ready to start day one, week one. And really, when it comes to a lot of these quarterbacks in this year's draft, I mean, Shedeur Sanders has a higher floor than most of these guys, so I could definitely see him being more ready to start compared to other guys like Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe. So that is definitely something to take into consideration. But, you know, like I said, I don't know why Geno Smith and Shedeur Sanders linked up. I mean, it was a cool photo. It looked like they're about to drop an album or some shit like that. But I don't really know if the Raiders are still 100% on board for a guy like Shedeur Sanders. But I will say, I think Shedeur Sanders still wants to come to the Raiders. A guy like Shedeur, I mean, he's young. He knows how this whole social media game works. Everything he does when it comes to social media, throwing these hints here and there about wanting to go to the Raiders, meeting up with the Raiders' new starting quarterback, to me, this is all strategic. He is definitely trying to drive some hype up around his name, and there are certain destinations that he wants to go to, and I think the Raiders are definitely one of them. But Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think Shedeur Sanders getting drafted by the Raiders is still a real possibility? Also, let me know about this whole Geno Smith contract extension. What do you think's the holdup? Let me know in that comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that is all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that is new to the channel and you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.